This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us at WZRD Iris Martinez. She is the clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County. Welcome so much to WZRD, Clerk Martinez.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. Happy to be here, especially in Northeastern, where I graduated from Northeastern.
Yes, and you just told me that you used to dance in the Ensemble Espanol too.
It used to be part of all that many moons ago.
Well, you're still in good shape, so hopefully you have time to
dance a little bit.
Yeah,
Oh
dance a
my
little
God,
bit.
my hip hurts, my knees hurt. I'm not as young as I used to be when I came here.
Well, we're so glad to have you here. Well, first of all, let's talk about why did you choose to run for clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County in 2020 when you first won the seat?
Well, when I was a state senator for 20 years, almost for 20 years, during that last phase of my 20 years, I decided, you know what, it's time for me to pass the crown over to someone younger, someone who's going to go down to Springfield, continue the fight. And this seat was available, so I ran for it 4 years ago, and I've had 3 incredible years so far. But we're working towards finishing up the term. But I'm running for re-election.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's the difference? I know that being a legislator and being the clerk are two different jobs, but what's the appeal? Is there what's the appeal? What was your goal? Why? I know it was available, but what were your plans?
Well, the thing was, when you look at the fact that when you're a legislator, you're creating laws. Those laws, when they're implemented, when they're signed into law, the court system will have to, take those laws and make sure that we are applying them accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, if you really look at it, being a legislator and going into the clerk's office under the judicial system, it basically goes hand in hand. When I got there, I noticed some things in the records I wanted to change. The first year that I got there, I even put legislation together to make sure the identity of any sexual assault victim was kept, private. So I can see some of the things that, as a former legislator, we can do better to improve the safety
Mm-hmm.
of victims in the system, and make sure that we are creating policies around that to make sure that people have access to justice, but there's also privacy that goes with it also.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, just being a legislator and implementing legislation is not enough. You have to go in there to understand the system.
Right, and you have to go in and make sure that the law applies. You got to make sure that the spirit of the law is followed. So when, say, for instance, when they did the expungements for people with low-grade cannabis, that was automatic. As you can see, it was written into law in the state of Illinois, and then the system, our court system, had to implement those expungements, those automatic expungements, because of the fact that the law was passed that low-grade cannabis was part of the, of making sure that we can help people transition out of these, of these records that they've had,
Mm-hmm.
that have impede them from getting a good job, then impede them from getting, a good education as far as, scholarships are concerned, trades. So it goes, hand in hand when you want to make sure that whatever we're doing, again, is going to have people, it's going to ease the burden on people and make sure that they have access to justice. And one of the things, again, is part of the expungement process. Like I said, one of the things we want to make sure that as we move forward, any kind of even these low-grade felonies that are out there, there might be a way that we can do an automatic expungement. That's why working hand in hand with the legislator is very important.
When you came in, did you notice that there were 5,500 expungements that were backlogged that weren't happening?
Right. When we went, like I said, restructuring that office after 20 years under my predecessor, there were so many things that were wrong, and we started addressing them one by one. We came in the middle of COVID. I mean, we came in December of 2020. So you came in all of 21 trying to restructure, trying to bring back the clerks in a safe environment so they can work, because the courts were going to open up. So we had to make sure that, that in the office, we had everything ready to go, and that we were taking care of the safety and the health of the employees so we can have people come back. The expungement, we found this backlog of over 5,500 applications that never have been processed.
From what year to what year did you notice? Were they because of COVID, or was that even before?
I think even before COVID, I think that there was my predecessor did summits of expungements out there, and and everybody wanted to access their records so they can get their records expunged. And I think that there was something that was never followed through. So there was these summits that took place, but there was no follow-up with the applications afterwards. We found them. We found them. Like we found over 11,000 outstanding warrants that were still in the system, and we've been able to clear that up. And now with the expungement, with the new expungement center that we opened, we don't have to do summits. We can have it every single day. People can come to our offices at 26 in California and actually ask for, for the information. We will be happy to give people the packets, start getting the process ready, but at least they have people there that can answer their questions. We also have legal aid, the CGLA that's been partners with us and making sure that they are answering their questions and helping us prepare the packages for individuals, to making sure that every T has been crossed, every dot has, every I has been dotted, making sure that the paperwork is complete. And I think a lot of that paperwork wasn't complete. And that's why we didn't see them being processed, because don't forget, when it comes to an expungement, you have to involve the city attorney's office. You have to involve the state police. So there's a process that takes place, and they were just sitting there. So we're very happy to, to report that already we're down to about less than 100, the process. And as the new ones are coming in, at least there isn't a backlog of that. We can continue to process as these applications as they come along. And now people don't have to wait, for a summit to happen. Then now they can actually go to our building at the 26th in California and actually apply get the application so they can start the process.
So when they step into the door and ask for help, how long will it take for them to actually get the expungement, approximately?
I can say we can start from 6 months to a year. It all depends, because don't forget, you have to have a sign off that it goes to a state police, making sure that there's nothing in the database, making sure the state attorneys do not object, because if they might object, you might have 5 different charges that you're trying to expunge, and you might be able to expunge only 4 of them. And again, but we can seal, we can also seal. So it's a matter of finding out how, what is sealable, what is not sealable, what's expungible, what's not expungible. So those are all things that we have to make sure are in place before we're able to have the judge sign off on it. We want to bring the judges these applications that are completely filled out and processed, so that there's no more holdups that keep people from getting their records expunged.
And when you I mentioned a partner, what was that? C what?
That's a Cabrini Green Legal Aid.
Okay.
CGLA,
Okay.
yes.
And it's free for the
Yes.
clients.
They have been, the legal community have been just great partners with us. They've been really working with us, because we know that access to justice is so important, and we know there's so many impediments out there for individuals to get a second chance. And we want to make the process as easy as possible. And working with them and other legal aid partners that have been out there has helped us make the process easier, because we have them there. They look through these forms before we send them out. So that's an important part of it, because we can't offer legal advice because we're only the keeper of the records, but we have partners with the legal community that help us in this process, make sure that people have access, and that also they work with us in helping people who can't afford attorneys. So I opened up a pro se litigant office. So anyone who is going to self-represent themselves, because we have a lot of that, people cannot afford attorneys. We have an office now that we have a clerk there, and people can come. It's over 69 West Washington in the lower level, and anyone that needs self-represent office, that's the office that we have, the self-litigant office, where people can go there, have a clerk, and also get some legal help to make sure that they can self-represent themselves correctly.
Self-litigant office?
Yes, that's in the 69 West Washington in the lower level. And these are people that do not have attorneys, that need legal advice. We have an office ready for them so they can go and get those services.
Yes, please follow up later with the exact information. So we'll include it in the description of this interview.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. I sure will do that.
Thank you. When you have so many accomplishments, but I know that you had a lot of goals and a lot of plans, because you came in, you saw what needed to be done. Now, as you prepare for your second term, what still needs to be done that is very, very important to you? Name a couple of goals.
Well, when we got there, we did not have, I think only 2 areas of law were online. So we had to fully integrate an old system into a new system. And so integrating you're talking about millions of cases that had to be transferred from an old to the new, from the old legacy to the new CMS, which is Tyler and its Odyssey. So that is the new system that we have. something that I inherit, and we've been working with Tyler to make sure that, our IT department is up to par as far as everything. I mean, the latest, we also, when we got there, our website went down because of the fact that, again, an old outdated website with old outdated software. So when it went down, thank goodness that it wasn't, there was no ransomware, that is just a hack that went to directing people into an NFL site. So we make sure that we took it down. We had a landing page so people did not lose any sense of looking up information. But we redesigned a website that was so user friendly that we were able to work with the IT, and that's something we're going to continue to do in the next term, is continue to work and embrace, and keep embracing technology, as it comes, because you know what, it's constantly changing, and we want to make sure that we have the most outdated. We won several awards nationally for the redesign of the best government website out there. It is very easy to navigate. People can go in there. It's very, it's very colorful. It takes people to where you got to go. It has every resource that our office offers. Every service we offer is on there and directs you into looking up for any kind of, charges. You can e-file through there. You can go to any, and right now, one thing with the beauty about the expungement that we want to make sure is that now, instead of having to go to 2 or 3 courthouses to have to look up for your things, if you have 2 or 3 cases, you can only go to 1 courthouse. You're able to get all the information and only be charged 1 fee. Before, you had to go to every courthouse that you might have business in, have to pay there all these fees. And I wanted to make sure we streamline that. That's something we did to make sure that it's easier and that it's not, expensive for anyone out there, because we know that people that are looking to expunge, we have to make sure that we offer, waivers, and make sure we offer, as least financial burden on them already that they already have, but more important, that they have access to what they need to clear up the record. So at least one location to get all that. Our clerks will make sure that all the information gets there so they can start the process. They don't have to go traveling to all the locations for that.
What if the client does not have enough money for the fees? Is there any way that the clerk's office can help them?
The judges have been very, very instrumental in helping that process, because they're the only ones that can waive the fees. So you know what, they've been waiving fees as they go along. It's something that we want to make sure that people are not that don't have that impediment there because of the fact that they don't have any money. We want to make sure that we have, that they have whatever it needs, and if that means that giving a waiver for the circumstances, we're going to do it exactly. The judges will do exactly that.
And the website, for e-filing and scheduling, there were some attorneys that were complaining about it was auto scheduling them and not notifying them, and they were having so many problems. I know that it's new, so of course it's growing pains, but what's happening there now? Any updates?
Well, first of all, e-file is part of our system, but we do not take care of e-file is run and managed by the AOIC and the Supreme Court. That's a product of our system, but the ones that manage the e-file and any problems that might occur have to be directed over to the AOIC, because they're the ones that maintain e-file. So there's some problems. Everybody thinks it's a clerk's office. It's not. When it comes to the e-filing, that system, even as part of our system, is actually managed, and taken care of and controlled by the AOIC.
What is the AOIC? What does it stand for?
That is what all the association of the county clerk of the association. Let me see. It's AOIC, the association of the county clerk of the courts. So the courts of the ones are the ones that actually not our office, not the clerk's office, but the Supreme Court and the association of them are the ones that handle all of that e-filing. They're the ones that handle that component of our of e-filing, which are part of our system, but they're the ones that control everything.
Even for scheduling court dates and scheduling all
right. Some of that is automatic. Sometimes that falls automatic, and we're working with them now and trying to see, because you see, when the things people don't realize is that as we upgraded every all these different online, make sure that all the areas of laws were online. We also now we finally are fully integrated. One of the things that we had to do is wait for all of that to happen, So then we can start doing enhancements with different areas of law. So if, say, Chancery needs certain things done one way, our IT is going to work with the judges there, because sometimes what's in Chancery doesn't have to go over in criminal. So right now, we had to wait until we got fully integrated for us to start making these changes and start addressing some of these issues that some of the lawyers have expressed. But one thing that we always make sure is that we have meetings with all the attorneys once a month, just to make sure that if there's anything out there that we need to address, because they're the ones that access the system, over and over and over again, and they're the only ones that can partner with us and letting us know if something is wrong or something needs to be enhanced. That's what that's about. It's a partnership of the attorneys, the judges, and all of us working together to make sure that the system, if the system is fed the right information, or at least the thoughts, it will help us enhance and make sure that we are at the top of our game when it comes to IT.
What about are there any other problems that people are bringing up that your office is addressing now?
Well, you know what, one of the things that, we back then, one of the complaints were that calls would go unanswered. First of all, when I got there, we were short over 300 clerks. We had to hire. And so we also noticed that there was a lot of telephone numbers that were out there without no equipment at the end of those lines. So you can imagine those calls were going unanswered, because there was no equipment. One thing that I want to make sure is that I didn't want those calls being unanswered. We wanted to make sure that we streamlined that. We opened up a call center. So the call center was opened up officially in June of 2023. But in December of 2022, we started, looking for a space, and we had like a pilot program. Between that time, December of 2022 to today, we have already processed and helped over 300,000 people that have called the one number, because now we have a call center with about 35 employees. They're under the waiting time is maybe no more than 2 minutes. When people are on hold, they have the choice also of being called back. And we have that happening, and people can stay on the line. It's very few drop calls that we have, because don't forget, we have our call center is landline. If calls are dropped, it's because of the person at the end who's got a probably cell phone, and sometimes that happens. But as far as how many people we've been able to work to address any particular issue, has been over 300,000 people that we've been able to. And the beauty about our call center is that it has availability in over 200 languages. So anybody calling in that does not speak English, they have the ability right then and there to have the clerk and an interpreter of their, with their native language, be able to help them take care of whatever they were calling our offices for.
Do you have a vendor system with the different interpreters, or
it's called the Inlingo? It's called the Inlingo system, and it's something that right there our clerks have access to it. So if somebody calls in and speaks Polish, we're able to get a Polish translator on the phone right away, automatically, with the client or the customer that calls, and we resolve the issue right then and there. Sometimes all they needed was a call. What they needed was, what's the next court date? What is the next, so the status of their case. Or sometimes just asking basic chancery question, probate questions. So at least there are a full staff office that is taking care of phone calls. So our clerks that are in the courtrooms and are in the courthouses are taking care of their job, as opposed to answering calls when we have a call center that is taking care of that. And I would say that I'm very proud to know that over 300,000 people already have been serviced through our office.
Do you have a ticketing system that tracks every caller and intake, and then how they are processed, the result, and all?
We have,
that?
right, because we just started. Now we're starting to track. We're starting to create that data that we need to see, how much more we can improve in what we're doing. But the great thing about it is also that there's anytime we have a help desk. If anything happens, they are also producing tickets to make sure that we are addressing every concern that comes in. So we have data. We're going to have data for that also.
But then how did you find out that there were 300,000 people that actually called?
Because our call center is already creating that data. It's already creating those numbers. It's generating those numbers as all these calls come in. We are already seeing that going on. So at least that's how we know that we have 300,000, because we are tracking the costs coming in, making sure that that people are being fully serviced, making sure there's any errors that we correct those errors, and making sure that what more kind of questions continue to be asked by people calling in. So to know that we have people that in Cook County that had some sort of question for the clerk's office, that they were able to get those questions answered.
Are you able to add more details to the ticketing system now that you have it in place, and then Is there any more, are you adding details so that you could service the people better?
That's the point of us creating this data, to
Mhm.
find out what more we can do to increase policies, to
Mhm.
increase, availability as far as what more we can do to assist, and the fact that we can, and by hearing them, then we know what we can add. Like I said, this just started with as a pilot program, but now the data, we're beginning to see that we have over 300,000 calls. We're looking to see we're looking at what were the questions that were mostly asked by them. So at least again, that is something that's very, very new, but we are going to be using it to track what we need to do to better service the people of Cook County.
Oftentimes, in an office, there's especially a department as large as yours, there's a lot of things that could be streamlined. Did you find anything that you were able to do that actually uh, shrunk the bureaucracy a little bit so that everything moves quicker?
Well, you know what? I think that the IT department that we have really been very innovative in creating that and creating, and how do we condense, how can we condense, services in a way that it's not affecting the people, but that we're doing more with the data and we're creating more policies around it. That is the goal of our office. That's why we have an IT team that, we've been able to bring in real experts who are really beginning to, we had to first lay the groundwork. First, we had to, really address all the problems that office had with the IT. The people that were there in the IT the area before we got there, I don't think they knew what they were doing. I think we've been able to create a system that is much more friendlier, much more. The judges are really liking the system, the way it's going, all the information. When you talk about the future, we would love to go paperless. I think at the end of the day, everything that we can put into the system. Right now, we've already digitized over 49 million cases we've been able to digitize. Again, that's another project that we got ongoing to make sure that one day our judges don't have to have that physical file in their hand. Everything is right there in the system for them, because every attachment, everything is scanned. So basically everything is there. But sometimes they want that physical file just to make sure. And we want to make sure that we are doing the best that we can to eliminate these files, because sometimes these files have to go from courthouse to courthouse depending on what the physical file.
Takes a lot of time.
And that could be dangerous also. You know what I mean? And again, we've never, knock on wood, we've never had any problems, but we have to look at and technology. What can technology do for us, especially when it comes to that imaging, scanning, making sure that everything is in the system. Our warehouse has, if you look at the warehouse and the millions and millions of cases that we have in there, we are digitizing as we go. You know what I mean? So even though we've digitized 49 million pieces already of cases, there's over 70 million, because one case might have 5 different attachments. So again,
what about your predecessor? Was your predecessor doing any digitizing at all?
not no that we can recall right now. No, I think that again, we there was a lot of things that we had to learn on our own, because they were not saying here's a handbook on how to deal with the clerk's office. That was not the case. And I think the fact is that we had to learn as we went, because their old system wasn't working. I didn't want to go and deal with a system that was a failed system. That happened right before we got there. There was a rollout. The judge even had to put a stay order in there against the predecessor, saying you are not going to roll out another one, because the past rollouts that she had were disastrous. So we didn't want anything being lost, the system going down. So what we said was we have to make sure that as these rollouts continue to happen, that they are, as glitch free as possible. But technology is always going to be that way. But we have to stay on top of technology and make sure that we have the most innovative people coming in, because a lot is going on, and we have to secure. As you know, you saw what happened at Lurie Children's Hospital with the ransomware. That is a scary thing for us to experience. We, with our system, with our new system in, and with all the security codes and safety net that we have put in place, they have tried to hack us. There's no doubt, because I think every system out there, every government system out there, they try to get hacked. We don't know who's doing that, but again, we have to be very mindful, and we got to be very careful, because the information in the courts is information that's very private, that can be very, that we have to make sure we safeguard. So we're always looking for ways to make sure that the safety net is in there, but that we're also being creative and making sure that we are doing everything we can to really bring a system that will be all technology system.
It's quite a huge responsibility.
Oh, let me tell you something. I think I've had sleepless nights, but you know what? I'm thankful for the team that we have assembled. Everybody that came to the clerk's office came with an expertise, with a background in their expertise, and they've really helped us make this transition. We brought in other county states attorney we brought a state attorneys up to our office. We brought in public defenders to our office. So we also brought in and hired some legal people that have the legal background, because we want to make sure that there are no mistakes, because it could be a matter of a mistake can cost somebody's extra time in jail, or the fact that we want to make sure that our clerks understand the responsibility that we have as officers of the court to ensure that what we're doing will never harm the people that come into our office with an act of a misdial, a misinformation put into a system. We're always about training, make sure, and we know the human errors happen, but we try to make sure that we're giving people the best training possible, that they can never ever ever be in a situation where a mistake could have cost someone extra time in jail or extra time. That's something that's very important to us.
The new system that you have in place, is it not correlating well with the AOIC? Is that probably what's happening that's causing the scheduling problems and the problems in e-file?
Well, you know what? We work hand in hand with AOIC. I mean, that's something that, it's, the Illinois courts are very, very important, because the office of they're the ones that dictate us, and they're the ones we have to work hand in hand, because of the fact that because they have the e-file system, but also we work with them constantly to make sure that we're doing everything right. They will tell us, yes, you can do this. No, you can't do this. And and then sometimes you have problems with the office of the judge, our office of the judge, because you got the Supreme Court, you got the Association of the Illinois Courts, Office of Courts, and then you have the office of the judge or chief judge. So there's always, we have to all work together, and sometimes there might be things that the judge that Judge Evans might not want out there, information that went out there, and we have to safeguard it. But there's also things that tell us, you're the keeper of the records. Yes, you can put it out there. So I'm always caught in the middle of that, of the sensitive, where I will always follow the orders of the chief judge, but I also know that people want transparency, people want openness, they want access to some of this information, and we have to find a way to make sure that we are not keeping anything from the public that we should not be, but also being able to keep things from the public that we need to, for the sake of privacy.
Yeah, it's just that some people were telling us the auto scheduling was really a big headache, because it was auto scheduling without notifying them. So they didn't know when they were supposed to be in court. They had no notification, and that was such a huge problem.
Right. And again, you're always finding these glitches as you, but don't forget, we had to first make sure that we all came online all the way across. So again, as these things are happening, now we're seeing some other little things that might pop up, and we have to take care of it. But that's the beauty of the technology. They're able to pop up, and we're able to address it right away. I mean, I wish I can say that the system was completely, glitch free. I wish that we can say that technology is, it's never going to be that. It's never going to be that. But we have to stay on top of it. And again, anytime we have something arise, if people say, oh, there goes the clerk's office. It's not even about that. It's about the fact that these things do occur. It does happen.
How often did you say that the different branches meet so that they could bring up these glitches and try to resolve them?
Well, we meet. Our office meets with the first muni, which is Judge Wright. He has all the first municipalities all around, which all these. So it's the 5 courthouses and everything. And they have once a month they have a meeting. Just to go over some of the things that are going on. Last week, they talked about the automated dates and the bulk filing and everything. We are addressing that as we speak, because we want to make sure that, so there was a lot of orders that needed to be inputted, more what they call change orders. So we have to make sure transfers. We have to make sure that we took care of that. We've addressed that. You see, sometimes so that's why these meetings are so important. And I always tell the attorneys, if there's an issue, let us know right away, because we want to address it. And instead of saying, oh, that clerk's office is not doing this, not doing that. I always say we're all partners here. We all have to work together to ensure that the resources and that whatever glitches might be in the system, working them together in a very unified fashion is always going to have us have the best system in place when we're all working together for that goal.
Now that you have been in office 4 years, what issues are you bringing to the legislators? Is there some legislation that needs to be sponsored that would help your office function better?
We're working on a few things for this coming, term. I think we want to make sure that we continue to address any kind of domestic violence or orders of protection issues that might arise, because we're seeing more and more orders of protection. And what we're seeing is that, there might be one visit to that person, one time that order, and there's nothing else after that. So I think working with them and seeing what we're seeing, working with them hand in hand, how do we address this problem? The domestic violence and the order protection is something that we have to really concentrate on, because we're seeing more and more of it.
Well, for orders of protection, as I always was thinking, okay, the order of protection is there. What if someone violated the order of protection? What is there any follow-up? Is that put into the record so that it's apparent to the court that something happened after that order of
So
protection?
as soon as the order of protection is filed in our office,
Mhm.
right from there, one time it's entered, it's given to the sheriff's office, because the sheriff's office have to go and, and issue the warrant to whoever the individual is that they're issuing. That's automatically done. So every single day, as these orders of protection keep coming in, and one thing that we did do when I went there, we even added extended hours into the night. We had judges on call to make sure that people were available any time of the day, because domestic violence doesn't have a time of the day. It can happen anytime. And we wanted to make sure that sometimes when we saw a lot of those were late in the evenings, after people get home, the fights occur. Sometimes during the day when women are able to say, I can get out and get this order of protection filled out. So there was a lot of things that we started seeing, and we started really talking a lot more with the advocates, because we want to talk about advocates. That's why it was important for me to open up a domestic violence center over in Markham. There was nothing out there in Markham where any woman or can go into a court, into and find a safe haven. We found that it's open space. You go to 26 California, you go anywhere where you have to order of protections to file, and it's an open space. There is like real no privacy. And I wanted to make sure that the victim and the children had a safe place where they can feel safe, where they don't have to be looking around to see if anybody's watching them, a safe place where they can actually have access to advocates and filling out the paperwork. That's why that domestic violence center was so important in the Southland, because they don't have one out there. And that was important. I would love to see that across all the other courthouses, because we want people to make sure that the space where they have to be utilized, that it's a safe space where they cannot feel victimized even more by
So
people
right,
watching
right
them.
now, what you're saying is that when people file those papers for an order of protection, they do have like a room where they could go into that is private for them.
Right. That again, we're advocating for more of that. That's
Advocating
why
for it.
right, we're advocating more for private. That's why over in Markham,
Mhm.
I found a space in the lower level.
Mhm.
Have people Mike move that division down there to
Mhm.
make sure that people went there to
Mhm.
fill it out, as opposed to being in the open space out there.
Mhm.
So that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're creating safe space where this is happening. Where we can find where people can actually feel safe in putting together a order of protection, because it is a very traumatizing, and for the children to be in the same room at the Markham courthouse in our space, we have a little room with a big TV watching Nickelodeon. The kids are there. We have books for them. We have food. We have everything there so the kids can be entertained while the parents are filling out that. That to me is so important, because it is a very traumatizing moment going on in their lives.
You being a record keeper, so any violations to that the order of protection are all kept together. The records are all kept together.
Right, they all come together, and again, one time we had the paperwork is filed, that's put into leads, and by the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office is the one that goes out and takes care of addressing that. Now, I think that there's a gap. I really believe there's a gap, because we've heard a couple of the women that got killed over the summer. The sheriff's office had gone out there once, but there was no second. And the same thing with and there was restraint. There's also anytime there is a order for protection and there is a gun involved, that person might have a gun, that person might have a registered gun, that automatically has to we have to work with CPD to make sure that they obtain they're supposed to relinquish that right away. The minute an order of protection is filed, that individual if they have a gun, or if they have to give that over back to the sheriff. But that's not happening. And what happened was with that one man who did have a gun, he went back and he killed his wife because there was not a second or third attempt to issue that. And I think that's where we have a gap. I think we need to work more in seeing how many times should a sheriff go out there and service that paperwork, or where does CPD step in if there's a gun situation that's in there. So I really feel that there's not enough attempts in making sure that a restraining order or a order of protection is put into place fast enough. That's what I think, that we have a gap there.
Currently, do the sheriff's office and the police, do they just have paper in their hand about every order of protection, or
It's
can
all
they go into digital?
it goes into a system. It goes in. As soon as that paperwork, we put the information in, it's walked over to the sheriff's office. They have to put it into lead. It's up to them to put it to lead. Lead being that's where everything appears as far as order of protection, whatever the case may be, whatever it's going to be filed is put into leads. Then they pursue what their job is. You know what I mean? Our job is the paperwork. We got the paperwork. We input into our system. Then they get the paperwork also to make sure, and then they have to go to that paperwork and see that paperwork. And sometimes there's been little mistakes here and there because they don't go through all of it. Even though it's all there, they might look at the front sheet, but they don't look at what may be behind. Again, we have to continue to do our jobs and do it thoroughly, especially when it comes to order protection, because you'll be surprised what can be lost in that if it's not properly looked at, every page, every information to make sure that they see the whole picture as opposed to half of the picture.
What does leads represent?
Well, that's the system that goes in where the law enforcement look in, and that's where everything basically is in that. It's in the system when it comes to a weapon, when it comes to the crime, everything else. It's up to the sheriff's office.
Could you give us some of the details about the clerk's office being released from the mandates of the Shakman decree against political hiring?
Well, you know what? That was something that when we walked in there, we inherit that lawsuit. My thought, as as a former legislator, as someone who worked for the city of Chicago, when that lawsuit was first filed, we know about Shakman. I knew about Shakman going in. That Shakman was actually the lawsuit happened because of the fact that my predecessor was doing all these political hirings without any kind of, vetting or anything. When I got there, the first thing we did was we had to sit with the federal monitor. We had to turn over all the resumes of everybody's going to be hired, making sure that these individuals match the job descriptions that were already in there, making sure that that the hiring was accordingly to people's credentials, to people's background, people's resumes, not something that because I give you a piece of paper, you go to my church, you're hired, not that. So we had to follow that. So 18 months in, seeing the collaboration that I had with Chief Cheng, he was the judge, the federal monitor that was in charge of the lawsuit. He every 3 months I sat in. I heard what more we had to do, making sure and insisting that our HR was following every single instruction by the federal monitor, by the people that were there that were monitoring us, making sure that we were following. And 18 months after that happened, the judge felt very, very comfortable that we were doing everything right and that we were able to have and during that time, we hired 200 people under that federal monitor, indicating that they had signed off on our hiring because we were doing it right. So the corruption that we say, oh, the office is corrupt. No, we are doing everything accordingly to what that they wanted us to do. And even now, after they're gone, we are following the employment plan, because if we don't follow the employment plan, we will be sued again. And we want to make sure that no one feels discriminated against getting hired in my office. We have a process. We post these jobs. After the posting comes down, there is a randomization that takes place, and making sure that if they ask you for 4 things, that they wanted you to do, if people did all four were moved to the top. If somebody did only did 3 out of 4 or 2 out of 4, again, they're still in the system, but everyone that followed, so again, making sure that we were following the employment plan to the T, that we didn't divert anything anywhere, because we do not want to ever be back in a place like that. The judge felt that I cooperated like he never seen anybody else cooperate. He goes, you should be complimented, and you should take your show on the road and show other offices how complying with the federal monitor is a good thing, as opposed to being resistant and fighting and arguing with them.
What kind of records do you have to keep to approve that you're compliant?
Well, the thing is that we have a director of compliance that has to be that is part of the was hired to make sure that one time the federal monitor left, that director of compliance is monitoring us, making sure that we're doing everything right. So we have somebody there that continues to be, the watch person that we are following and complying with all of the employment plan.
And how do you prove that the director of compliance is unbiased, impartial?
Because of the fact that they have a legal background. They all have legal background. They have compliance background as far as being an expert. And that's who we brought. We brought an expert who has done this before, who's been a monitor, especially a compliance officer. That's the credentials that they have. So they're very ethical when it comes to following. And they will let us know.
Did you have to do a search to find the
Yes,
person?
we did. Yes, we put it out there. And of course, we have everybody that applied. And of course, we always make sure. First of all, I prefer to have an attorney because I really feel that legally we're doing everything correct, that we're not going to be held up by anything that we might have done illegally. Second of all, or someone who've had years of experience as a director of compliance, with that kind of background. That to me was, we put it out there.
Are you able to tell us what their background is? Where else did that person work in compliance? If you're able to tell.
I'm happy to announce that my director of compliance just got appointed to the bench. So she just got appointed because of her background. She was someone who was going to run for, she was going to run for judge, and she was unopposed. But I said, you know what, I need someone because our director of compliance had left. And we had a new, so we needed to hire somebody right away so we can continue making sure that we're complying. She was phenomenal. Her background is exactly that. She was an attorney. She worked in, her background, I believe she worked at a law firm where she was also doing compliance work. So yeah, these are people that come from, from backgrounds and, these law offices that are very, very, prestigious and have that kind of background.
Thank you for that. Once in political office, you have people criticizing you for everything. It's so hard to just to justify everything that you're doing. So there's people that said that you're able to get around that, like you're able to tell people like how to write their resume so that they're able to get into the job. Like maybe they're probably saying that it's somebody that's politically connected to you. But how is the employment plan able to weed that out to prove that that is not the case?
Well, first of all, the employment plan has the director of compliance looks at these resumes. We do background checks. I mean, there's no doubt that we do background checks on individuals, especially if they're high salary employees. We want to make sure that there's that the resume is true. It's true to what it says, that they have the certifications or whatever background that particular job description calls for. So again, we are following exactly that. Not, do I know people? I've got 40 years of being in public service. I've met so many people in the course of my life. I surrounded myself with people that I know were professionals and that had the background and had the credentials. So if there was anyone ever called to that, would say, no, look at this resume. This is all true. I would never ethically ever think about creating somebody's resume just to fit. That's never been me in the 40 years that I've been there. When it comes to ethics, I'm very good on ethics for that reason, because I am very ethical. And second of all, let's be honest. I want to make sure that office, that black cloud of corruption and things that occurred were not occurring anymore in that office. And people are always going to talk, because you're always going to have the enemies out there that did not like me. You're going to have people that I got rid of in that office because of the fact that they were hired not under credentials. They were hired because of political hiring.
In other words, they were not doing a good job because they did not have the background for their job.
Exactly. And that's something that I make sure you bring in your people. You have the right. First of all, you cannot touch the process when it comes to the union employees. That's something that We have to go, everything has got to be union negotiated and all that. So that's it. Now, the people that I get, the Shakman positions that I get, guess what? I'm going to bring the people that I trust, that I've known in 40 years. I'm going to bring them with me because I know they're going to have my back as far as knowing who I am, my mission, my integrity, my discipline when it comes to work. I am very hands-on. I want to make sure that we are addressing everything. So again, I brought people with me that are people that have that background, that can, their resume can be put up against any resume from the old administration, and it would put people to shame. I wanted to make sure that so there was no question around the people that are in that office doing the job they're supposed to do, having the IT background, having the finance background, having the legal background, making sure. And I've also seen people within my office that I saw, that I brought in, that I said, Jesus, they're even better than what I thought, or that they, and I promote from within because we see the talent that's there. So even to question me about promotions and all that, guess what? When we're in the middle there and you see the talent and you know that there's people that can do a lot of different things, we want to keep those individuals. We want to continue to have government, bring the very best of the best that are not just there for the salary, but that are there because they're committed. And that's what we have in that office. We have a lot of people that are committed to the work and trying to make sure that that office is rid of all of that and that we have transparency and good government coming out of that office.
For the employment plan, is there any stipulation in the employment plan that they have to track that the person is not politically connected with you, so that it's all free and clear?
Oh yeah, I mean that's something the director of compliance always should, when they do that. That's why I said we submit the information, people apply, whatever the case may be. I'm the last person that gets involved in that. When I get to see that person is when that person is going to be sworn in. The process, I leave all that process back there to the individuals that are experts. The gentleman that I have, he's my HR, has over 30 years of experience in the county in HR. So again, we bring people that are that are smart, that understand the system and know about the political things that are set out there to make sure that we are never in that position.
Well, if he's been in the HR for 30 years, he would have had to hire under administrations that were corrupt, right?
Right. Well, the thing is that, when you look into this person comes from the county. This person comes from big county. You know what I mean? Again, big county. I mean, I think I like Karen's office was another office. Karen Yarbrough was an office. I was Shakman. Kagi's office was under Shakman. So you can see there's everything in the Shakman. So you have people that move around, but you have people that have been there that help us through this, and make sure that we're doing everything right because they're the experts. They understand. The person that I brought, yes, he has an experience, and because of the experience, that's why he's in my office today, because I knew that we were going to be able. And when he first started in my office, he started as a director. He's a director. And guess what? He now is the HR, he's my HR cabinet member because of the fact that he has risen through the ranks of doing and very ethical person who I felt needed to be there with me to make sure that we are doing everything right out there, who knows what it is to be under Shakman, be under Shakman and the strict rules that we have to follow. That makes me feel comfortable knowing that whoever is sent back there, whatever resume is sent back there, what I mean? By whomever is recommended, we always make sure that we're vetting them the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it is very hard. You have to always face all these criticisms, and then it's much easier to nip the problem in the bud in the beginning.
Well, I'm very honest and open. That's always been me. In all the 40 years that I've been in public service, it's always been that. I've never been challenged ethically on anything that I've done because I strive for that. I want to make sure that people understand that we are about good government, that we are about bringing the best people out there because people have never been given chances out there, to actually be part of an administration. When I look at my cabinet and my cabinet members, I'm very proud because guess what? I got the very best of the best. I have 2 Blacks, I got 3 Hispanics, I got 2 Asians, and I always say that because my IT, he's from Japanese, and then my inspector general is from Vietnam. So you know what? When I look at my cabinet, when I look at my cabinet, I have what the county looks like. We get a little bit of everyone, and that to me is representation. So people out there can see that the county that at least my office looks like who represent out there.
Mhm.
You know, the 5 million people that represent that, you know, and to me, that is a perspective that I feel, you know, gives me such joy and and I'm so honored to work with individuals that have the expertise, you know, and that we can all work together as one big happy family.
How did you find your Inspector General?
He was recommended to me by the former Inspector General, who now is a judge. My Inspector General, my former Inspector General that I brought in, he came from COPA. When he got there, he saw an office that had no records of anything. I mean, it was, and that was my predecessor's best friend was the Inspector General. No reports, nothing that, you know, made any sense. So he had to revamp that whole office. One of the things that he wanted to make sure was, as an Inspector General, he wanted to make sure that he himself, like anybody's going to work for him, had to go through a certification of the National Association of Inspector Generals. So all of my people in there are certified with the association. That to me was important. He made sure he laid that foundation. Then when my chief of staff, my chief of staff became a judge, because my first chief of staff became a judge. So I brought him over to be as my chief of staff. And then he got picked to the bench also. I'm like thinking, see how good of people that I have? I have such good individuals that they're being called to serve on the bench.
Let's have some names here so that we know who you're talking about. It's okay.
So my first Inspector General was James Murphy Aguilu.
Mhm.
He was he was my Inspector General.
Mhm.
He came and became my chief of staff. But the last election, he had run for judge, but he had, you know, took a step down because he says he was not going to run against the party. So he said he will wait his turn, right? So he was already on the possible list of future judges.
Mhm.
So then when he was tapped, when I was called that Justice Cunningham had appointed him, we were very, very thrilled about that. So then he recommended this just gentleman, the Inspector General Anthony Wynn. He invited him to. I met with him. I trusted because they knew each other from law school and from other, you know. He goes, this is the guy that I think will continue. He has continued to pick up where, you know, where my Inspector General left off.
They were working together, right?
They knew each other from the outside.
Oh.
Right. When my Inspector General left, he recommended him.
Mhm.
He says, I go, is there a recommendation? He goes, I got a resume of somebody that I think you would really. So I looked at the resume. I said, this is a great resume, you know, coming from a private, you know, from a top law firm.
Mhm.
I said, this is a person with a lot of integrity, a lot of, you know, transparency. So I brought him in and he took over that spot. And then when my Inspector General left to go to the bench, I moved up my general counsel, who's a woman. She came and I told her that she could not apply to being a judge. I'm done giving people to become judges, but she moved up into my my chief of staff. But yeah, but Anthony Wynn is my Inspector General.
Mhm. Yeah, Judge Murphy Aguilu, he actually interviewed with me last week.
Oh yeah, he used to be my Inspector General and my chief of staff, and I'm very proud because Tom Nowinski was my chief of staff when I first started. He helped me. Tom Nowinski, Judge Nowinski, was someone that I brought in from day one with me because he was somebody that had the Shakman experience as far as the lawyer, because he was involved with the county when it came to a Shakman. So he already had the experience. So I was very happy because he was the one that really basically helped us get through the whole Shakman time that they were there.
Mhm. For the Latinos, you know, why do you know what happened? Why aren't you slated by the party? What happened?
Well, 4 years ago, when we found out that Dorothy Brown was not going to run, one of the things that the Madam President of the county says, you know, encouraged me to run.
Mhm.
President Perkwinkle, when she ran for mayor, I supported her. I was one of her surrogates. So she, you know, said, "Oh, you should run." But what happened was that when the slating time came, and she was trying to get Kim Fox reelected, well, reslated to be slated. There was a behind the room deal was cut between the powers that may be back there. So in order for Fox to be slated by the party, there was an exchange, the white versus the black, and making sure that that everybody was supporting. And so it turns out that the gentleman who at that time was the slated candidate was Carbonargi. His name was Carbonargi. He was he was a board of review. He was slated, and turned for Kim Fox to be slated in that. So they had the ticket where Kim Fox and Carbonargi were the two, which left me out. Now, when I went in front of the party, when I went in front of to ask for the endorsement, they, even though I was a city senator, they didn't see it. They wanted to make sure that Kim Fox was protected, and I don't have nothing about Kim Fox, but that was the deal. I got thrown under the bus, unfortunately. But I told them, I don't care. I'm going to run anyway because there is no Latino at the top of the ticket. And I, as a senator, it's an open seat. I'm going to run. Bottom line, they were upset that I decided to run even, and I beat the slated candidate. You know what I mean? So when I went back this time, and asked the president, the chairman, she goes, you ran against the party last time, and so you're not going to get support. And you supported a few individuals. I'm sorry, a few individuals out there that shut up. A few individuals that were out there that actually that the party didn't support. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I'm an elected woman. I am a committee woman, and I'm also I was a former state senator. How is it that I cannot support the people that I feel I want to support, what everybody else does? Why am I being singled out on something that doesn't make any sense? But so I said, I'm going to still run, and they told me they were not going to support me because I ran against the party. My thing is this. If you look at that slate right now, first of all, it's a black and white slate. There are no Latino. I'm the only Hispanic constitutional officer in the county and the incumbent. And my community was this from the party, from having any Latino at the top. As you know, the same thing happened with Jesse Reyes. The same thing happened with Jesse Reyes. He had an opportunity, there's been an opportunity to put him as a Supreme Court justice 3 different times. He did not, and now he's running because again, feels that Latinos we're being pushed to the side. And right now it's shown right there. I am the incumbent. There has never been anything from my position as the clerk. You haven't heard anything negative coming out of my office as far as the work is concerned. So, and guess what? If you look at the ticket right now, 2 or 3 of those people that are endorsed by the party today ran against the party the last time. So why am I being treated any different? And that's a very bad excuse. No, they can't control me. They can't control the office. And that's what this is about. It's the politics. It's the politics. And that's what this is behind. It's not because of the work that we've done in that office.
So what do you think it is that you are doing well that the party does not like and the party does not want to endorse you?
Well, because I'm not beholden to the party. I ran last time. That's their excuse. I ran against the party. I should not be, I should not be seeking them. Again, I'm a Democrat. I have been a Democrat all my life. I was a Democrat as a state senator. I was also the Democratic State Central Committee woman for over 30 years. And right now I'm currently the Hispanic Caucus chair for the DNC. So I'm very active when it comes to, and the problem is they don't like that I don't go with the flow. I'm very independent mindset. I will always support people that I feel are going to work in the best interest of the people that represent, not the power that they're trying to gain. It's about the power.
So you're the head of the Hispanic Caucus, you're the Hispanic Caucus chair. Maybe it's your work as the chair. What are you doing as with the Hispanic Caucus?
Well, on the national level, I'm the caucus chair. I meet, I am part of the rules and bylaws for the Democratic Party. The rules and bylaws of the DNC. So we put all the rules and bylaws together for the convention for all the different, states, making sure that the states are complying with all the rules of the Democratic Party, and that the party, that all these parties, all the party chairs of every state are also working hand in hand with us, making sure that the rules and the bylaws are always continue to be, followed. Every 4 years, it's all about the convention, and right now that's what we've been working on. But my job as a Hispanic chair is all the different DNC members, Hispanic from all over the states. We gather, we talk about some of the issues, we get together, and again, we are a part of the whole Democratic National Committee.
How are you able to help elevate the Latino caucus members to office?
Well, are you talking about the members here in Chicago? I mean, Illinois?
Whoever work closest with you.
Well, you know what? When I look at some of the individuals that are GNC members, Hispanics from different states that are actually either appointed or voted, some of them are into the politics there. We try to help them. They're real good about saying, we have a state senator, right? I mean, a U.S. senator that's running, and we're having problems with, like, when I work very closely with Florida, because Florida, where we have a big Hispanic population there, and we're trying to get the Democrats, especially on the I-4 corridor, as far as Orlando's concerned. There is a big, Puerto Rican and Hispanic population there. So I sometimes meet with the leadership there, try to see how much we can make sure that we can help a state like Florida turn blue one day. We can, but again, that's my job. I go around to different states and talk to work with some of the DNC Hispanic members and what's going on in their towns, in their elections, to help them, actually, lift it up to the party's power that may be, to help some of the smaller elections that are going on.
Well, you're trying to elevate the Democratic Party. You're actually trying to make the Democratic Party progress. So, and they're still not allowing you to be slated. That's just for that reason. Any other comments about that?
Well, you know what? I'm not beholden to the party. I was gonna say they didn't do last time, and for me, I am the people's person.
You're not beholden, but then what have they asked you to do that you did not agree to do?
Well, the thing is that not agree not to run. How can I not run when I had no Hispanics at the top? I gotta think about my people. And obviously they're not doing that, and that's what I want to do. That's why I'm not going to be beholden by their thoughts and what they think, because my community is being left out. So I have to fight for my community. The little bit of us that are there, we have to fight. You know what I mean? And for me, if I don't keep this fight going, who's going to fight? You know what I mean? So again, I'm not going to tell them that they cannot dictate who should run or not run. They should not be dictating. Again, I support women, and I support a lot of people that I feel can be good government allies. They can be good people that really care, not people that are looking for power. And this is about who stays in power. My office is an office that has a lot of jobs. It's an office that, again, it has is part of a structure of the Cook County Democratic, of the Cook County courts. I mean, we are the second largest unified system in the world. Is our office.
Who's the first?
LA, of course, LA. And Texas is not far behind, but we have the second unified. I mean, so there is a lot that rides on this office and the power of this office. To me, this is not about the power that I have. It's the power that the people of Cook County have given me in trying to make sure that we are producing the very best of the best in a system that has been unjust in so many ways to people of color, and to me, as a person of color, I'm watching that. I want to represent that voice for the hopeless, people that feel hopeless, people that don't feel that they don't have a voice. I want to be that. I've always been that. As a state senator, I was that. I am now. You know what I mean? And again, it's an office, and I'm going to be criticized. Everybody's going to be criticized, because just like I'm criticized, there's others elected being criticized. But I'm one person trying to make sure that we are bringing transparency, that we're bringing the very best to that office and offering people the very best, resources that they may need, so they don't have impediments that they may get through the system that can really be life-changing for them. I mean, for me, this expungement gives people a second chance. People that felt like something they did 20 years ago is still haunting them. Should never be the case. Even something you did 5 years ago should not haunt you if you've made changes in your life and you're on a positive path. You know what I mean? We want to assure that we are giving those opportunities to everybody out there that needs a second chance.
And the Democratic Party should see the work that you're doing. Have they asked you about to do anything else that you did not agree to, and then maybe that might be the case that they're not slating you?
No, they're not speaking to me much these days. You know what I mean? Which I'm okay with. You know what I mean? Everybody's doing their own thing. The party's doing their thing. They're moving their slate along. I'm going to run on my record. I'm going to continue to be that, that voice that maybe they don't like, because I don't go with the flow, because I don't stand in attention and say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, or yes, sir, no, sir. I'm going to do what's best for the people of Cook County. And they are the ones that are my dictators. They dictate me, not an individual, because you went against the party, we're not going to slate you. I mean, that's a behavior that should not exist. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, because incumbents are there, we've worked hard. Look at the work that's being done in that office. Judge me on that. Don't judge me on the politics, because the politics is a dictatorship that I will never, ever follow. I will never, ever follow.
And what about your fellow Latino people that want to run for elected office? They're having problems being slated as well?
They sure are. And for my people, that's why I said the few of us that are there, you know what? I'm going to fight that fight. And I'm going to put the real concern of where we are being dissed, especially in a year that's an election year, a presidential election year. We should be a very inclusive party. And right now, we're not being inclusive. And they're not watching that. They're watching is who gets money, who they can control, and that's what the party's about. The party wants people to be lockstep with them. You know what? I will be lockstep if I know that at the end it's about the people are being served. But it's about serving individuals. I'm never going to be that. I will never be that. I rather lose a race than lose my integrity and lose my myself because of people dictating or saying you got to be quiet, and if you go with the flow, you'll be part of this. That's not me. That's never been me. That never will be me.
And when you said who gets money, that means whoever fundraises the most for the party, they get slated.
Of course, you see it right there. My opponent just put $875,000 into her account. She already has put in $1 million to try to buy the seat, because this is what it is. An opponent who is a oil tycoon heiress that has money that the party embraces, because she's writing checks. She's writing all kind of endorsement checks out there. She's getting endorsed by people that she's writing checks to. You know what? I'd rather not be endorsed and know that my integrity is intact than trying to buy myself into the seat, trying to buy the seat the way she has bought her seat in the past. I am not going to be part of that. And if the party wants to embrace that, then let the party deal with it, because that individual has been under the radar. But when she was appointed into the water reclamation, guess what? A few months later, guess what? Her father put in $150,000 into the governor's campaign for appointing her. And that can be checked. When she was a water reclamation president, she took in money from people doing business with the water reclamation. If that's not pay to play, if that is not unethical, then you know what? If that's what the party wants to embrace, so be it. I'm not. They cannot say that about me as a former legislator and somebody who has had a track record intact.
If all that has happened, what is preventing ethics investigations against her?
Well, I would hate to say that it's privilege, the white privilege. Unfortunately, when you see this kind of action and there's no outrage against that, then you can see where the racism is at. You know what I mean? Again, how is it they're not talking about real unethical practices of her past, but then they're not going to endorse me, who's done all the work of the county? We've done good work, but because of the politics, because I'm not the endorsed candidate and she is, that's what's going on here. Bringing in money and making sure that she's paying for these endorsements, I'm okay. I always say that at the end of the day, the only endorsement I want is the people of Cook County. That's all I need.
And for the record, what your opponent has done, was there an investigation from the news media? How did you get this information?
We looked the information up, because she threw something in there. She fed some information which was not really true information about some people that gave me contributions, real minor contributions compared to what she's got going on. I don't have any money. I don't like to fundraise. I hate to fundraise because I don't want these kind of questions about how we get money. I've always been about small fundraisers, people that have believed in me. I've been around for 40 years. I have people that have been supporting me for the past 40 years because they love the work, as they believe in me. You know what I mean? But they're going to question. So there was a question that came up by a newspaper about that. But I said, have you looked at the background? Now they're looking into her background. But guess what? We have fed them this information because it's all there in the D2s. It's all there when you do the research. It's right there. I'm not lying about anything, but they're not writing about this. So it tells you that there is something about, people of color, and then you have something when it comes to people that are not of color,
In other
how they're
words,
treated by the media.
yes, in other words, mainstream media picks and chooses what to write about.
Yes, and as you can see, I think that the people of color get hit harder than people that are not of color. And I think, again, it is what it is. It doesn't, let me tell you something, it doesn't deter me from continuing to work. At the end of the day, if the people of Cook County decide different, I'm okay, because you know what? I have served the people of Cook County and the people of Illinois 40 years of my life. I've given to my, as a public servant. And to me, that's joy enough for me. I feel good about the work that I've done, and I feel good about the direction that office has taken. And even if it turns out that it might not be me at the end of the day, guess what? That next person is going to receive an office in a much better shape than what I got it. Because when I got that office was a mess. It was a huge mess with so many things that I didn't even talk out in public, because I said, you know what? The public doesn't need to know. Our job is to clean up this office and start a process that is going to make sure and ensure that people of Cook County are getting the best of the best from that office. And that's all I've been concentrating on. I can tell you that in the last 3.5 years, I haven't even taken a vacation, because I've been so committed to the work and making sure that we were taking that office and taking it to a next level with transparency and openness and friendly and very, very, friendly. And that's what I wanted to do. And that I feel that that's what I've done, but I still feel there's more to do. But you know what? Again, it's worth for re-election, and I'll put it in. I just put it in God's hands.
This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM, and we have with us at WZRD Iris Martinez, who is the clerk of the Cook County Circuit Court. And a very important question. So over 40 years, and then you have won many elections. Can you tell us, you have your small fundraisers, you hate to fundraise. What was the budget, the political war chest of your opponents versus you over the years?
Well, I think she's never had much of a she's always had a war chest because she's got the money. She could write herself a check and put it into.
I meant like in your past elections, because you have won many elections, and you don't like to fundraise,
right?
But you still have won. So do you have any information about how many your opponents, your opponents? Did they raise more money than you, but you still won? Do you have any information about that?
Well, yeah. If you can see, 3 years ago, I beat the party. The party put a lot of money in. I think I raised close to 300,000. I did commercial at the very last, but I raised about 300,000, and I spent about that much. You know what I mean, for the last, and they spent a whole lot more money than they, because I wasn't endorsed by the party, and the party endorsements. A lot of the unions gave these individuals money, so they had a whole lot more money. Now I look at this election, I barely have, I think, $150,000 in the bank. I'm getting some checks in slowly, so I'm still fundraising. But she's already put $1 million into the account. She's already put in $1 million into her account for a race that should be no more than 300,000 or 400,000, honestly. You know what I mean? But again, she's gonna, buy up everything she can possibly buy up. To me, my messaging is going right to the people. I always tell people, look at the office, look at the accomplishments. That's all I can offer. But as far as I'm going to race as much as I possibly can, probably the same thing I did last 3 years ago, and hope and pray that whatever. But it would be sad to say that if I win, I said when I win this, because I'm going to win this. I feel confident that people love what we're doing. I see it out there wherever I go. People know me. People says your office is doing a great job. I really believe that we're going to do well. But it's really sad to say that it will take $1 million to try to beat me, an opponent, the incumbent, who has done nothing but good work. And I really believe that is sad when we're not looking at that, and that they actually question someone like myself who's given 40 years of public service. Where is the respect? Where is the respect? But you know what? Again, I will continue that fight. I will raise some money again, just for that, because I want to make sure. But that's the reason why I just hate to fundraise, because of the fact that the scrutiny you know, and I don't want to buy people. I don't want to buy the vote. She wants to buy the vote. I don't want to, I want to earn the respect, earn the vote by the people, and they can judge me based on what I said 3 years ago I would do if I got into that office. And I've accomplished my goals in that office, you know what I mean, of things that we needed to do. But we came into a real situation when COVID was, we were in the heart of COVID. And I really feel that people need to look at that in the fact that I protected my health and the well-being of my clerks to make sure that we can operate. And we've been doing just that. And we've been really, really doing the work of the people. And I think that that to me is what's going to really take me to that, to that victory, is that, money doesn't buy votes. Money cannot buy, but money should not buy votes. Money, it should be about the work that's being done, by the people who elected me 3 years ago, and it's about that. And I've done that. And that's the way it should. This individual is used to, throwing her money around. She's used to, buying her way into things because that's what she is about. And again, if this is what the Democratic Party wants to embrace and endorse a candidate with that kind of a background, it just shows you where our party's at.
And I don't think you understood my question earlier. I just wanted to show your background over the years when you were running as a legislator. Were you always the one that had the
least
less
money?
funds? Yeah, less money. I still won. I want to clear that up.
I was always the last. I was the least one of all of them that wanted to fundraise. They were always telling me, "You're such a bad fundraiser," and I go, and I'm very proud of it. I remember in Springfield. It just shows you how much of this I was. People talk about the lobbyists and people going with the lobbyists. Us. That's how we raise our money, through lobbyists. Because of our connections. And I can say, when I had to raise money, I would raise money. If I didn't have a race, there was no need for me to raise money other than, to keep my office running, because I have to pay, we have to pay, office, like I have to pay my committeeman's office. So yeah, I raised money for that. But over the course of years, I was always the worst. And I remember one time there was a story being done about all the legislators and how much money lobbyists spend on the legislators. And they had all the senators from the highest to the lowest of lobbyists spending money on. I was in last place, and the only thing they spent was $16 on me, because I did it with 3 or 4 other folks. So my portion was $16. That was my food, right? So it just shows you that I've never been a big fundraising person, but whenever I had to, I would do it, but always be for little amounts. I don't think I ever can say that I had over 300,000 or 400,000 ever in my lifetime in my account in the past.
Well, Iris Martinez, if our listeners want to learn more about you and maybe want to contact your office, what should they do?
irisforclerk.com. Go to irisforclerk.com, and that's my political. And again, they can always go to my, clerkofcircuitcourt.org to gather information, what they need. Just looking for, for data, whatever they need, they can go to the website also.
So if they have problems and they need to access court records, they should go to the
www.clerkofcircuitcourt.org.
.org. Okay. All right. Iris Martinez, Clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County. Thank you so much for joining us on WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM today, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.